reinvigorate your planned giving efforts. The end of the year is a time when people spend a lot of time with their families. Often they have some downtime, and it's a time of personal and family reflection. And so, a lot of people involve themselves in planned giving towards the end of the year or the beginning of the following year. And so, if you don't have a planned giving initiative in your church, now might be a good time to get started. Most churches that we work with have a planned giving effort, but it's kind of on the side burner, or not necessarily in the forefront. So now's the time to bring it out and to remind people of their opportunities to make substantial contributions to your endowment funds. Again, we talked about this earlier, asking seniors to endow their annual pledge. Many are willing and able to do that, just haven't really ever thought about it. We've heard for many years about the wealth tsunami that was happening between builders and baby boomers. Well, guess what? There's another wealth tsunami happening right now, and it's actually already begun from baby boomers to their millennials, typically children. And so $60 trillion will be passing down in wealth. Now, a lot of people will hesitate to make a planned gift because they want to make sure that their children are taken care of. And that is absolutely wonderful. But people can take care of their children and also give to their churches. So there are ways that it can be structured. Maybe the church gets 10% of the estate, or just a fraction of it, a small part. Some people take a look and they say, okay, I've got 5 children and I've got my church, so we'll just divide the estate in 6. So they treat the church as one of those children. However the donor wants to structure it, when they begin to have that conversation, that's when you find some really, really rich conversations happening about what is meaningful to them in the church, what's meaningful to them in leaving a legacy. People have philanthropic objectives. They want to accomplish something in particular causes. So when you have those, as we talked earlier about those authentic conversations with some of those people who have considerable assets, find out what makes them happy, what brings them joy, what kinds of charitable contributions would enable them to feel really good about what they've set up in their estate planning. One other quick note about estate planning. Most of the time we think about a will or estate plan as the primary plan giving tool, but don't forget about beneficiary designations. Those are pretty simple to do. In some cases, they can actually be done online. If your donors have a donor advised fund, if they have an IRA, if they have an investment account, all of those require a beneficiary designation. So it might as well be you, especially for those who may not have children or may have assets in another place that they're intending to pass along to their children. For a donor advised fund, just a quick side note, if you have people giving to you from donor advised funds, everything that goes into a donor advised fund has to eventually end up with a charity. And so if the donor passes and they have not set up that donor advised fund to go to their children, those funds do have to have a beneficiary designation that has to be a charity. So you can ask your donor advised fund donors if maybe you could be the recipient of that. And it's a wonderful way to give them an opportunity to leave a legacy to your church and also make great use of that donor advised fund. Joel, some keys to success.
You bet. So let me actually start with the second bullet here. Don't stress about not being a financial expert. If you're thinking, what is a donor advised fund? What is a split interest gift? What is the testamentary gift? Some of those phrases that are part of planned giving, don't feel like you've got to become an expert. Don't get stressed out there. And then I'm going to go to the fourth bullet. Now, if you're a part of a denomination, every denomination has a foundation and can give you some help. And then there are some foundations that specialize in helping churches, and they can help you if you don't have an endowment set up, or if you don't have planned giving set up. They can help you with that, and possibly even in your own church. You'll have an attorney or someone who knows how to help you do this. If you have planned giving in place, review your existing documents and policies and just make sure they're current as the tax laws change and as the culture changes. Make sure you're staying relevant and current with that. And then again, we've talked about stories and all these other areas. One of the best ways to get planned giving on the radar of people in your church is a testimony from someone living who has done that, and let them share why they're leaving a gift with the church, what that means to them, and even how they plan to explain that to their children or how they came about making that gift. Again, story and testimony so powerful here as well.
Just a quick follow-up on that, Joel. It's that Russell James, who I referenced earlier, a researcher, did a lot of research about what compels people to make a bequest gift. And, so often in the church, we wait until someone dies and then we celebrate the gift that that person has left. And we talk about how, Betty was such a wonderful member here for 50 years and she left this lovely bequest. And isn't that great? That Betty did that. And that's all a story we absolutely want to celebrate and share. But what Russell James discovered is that people weren't really compelled to make a testamentary gift at that point because they didn't really want to be like Betty because Betty's dead.
Yeah.
And so the testimony from a donor who's actually alive is a lot more compelling. So find people that have made testamentary gifts to the church, left you in their estate, made you a beneficiary, allow them to tell their story, and it'll have a lot more impact than telling the story of a donor who is no longer with us. So